260818, which is request of Mayor's fiscal year 2018-2019 proposed budgets for general, capital, debt service, and special revenue funds. Mayor McBrayer.
Thank you, Mr. President. Again, I apologize for my voice tonight. Too much sinus stuff going on. So, somebody did a good job dismissing the scouts before they had to go endure this.
They did.
Very good. So I know Chairman Jones always talks in his finance committees about having a really high-level overview of the budget. So that's what we're going to do this evening. And then with the full understanding that y'all will set some times to start going through literally the hundreds of line items that we've already gone through. So I'll just take a quick second to thank JJ and my department heads and Robert for the amount of time, trust me, the amount of time that it's going to take me to present this is not indicative of the amount of time that it took to put together. So I say every year, and it'll never change, that it's probably the most important thing that my office does is to present a budget to my neighbors on the council, mainly because it kind of tells the direction of where I'd like to see our city go. It's also very important, and it's much easier now than it was in 2008 when I started this, giving you very accurate numbers. So while we may disagree on a project or may have priority over one or another, what I look forward to in the process is us not having to really disagree on the numbers. And you know me, if anything, it will be too conservative of a budget. But it sure makes it nice at the end of the year that we'll talk about in a few minutes. So with that, we'll get started. Of course, it's just the 2018-19 budget. I am not going to read through all these line items unless somebody just wants to listen to me read through them all. But this basically in our general fund, unassigned, a little over $13 million. You see the other debt service fund, a little over almost 11. Special revenues, just under 110 million, for a total of $153.7 million. So the operating results showing all the way back to 2013, the numbers that you see in green are the audited number. That's what we ended the year with. But if you look at the notes up underneath, what's not showing in green is if you add the notes together, what we actually finished with. So just all the way back to 14, if you take the note D, which is going to include in all of them our bonuses and transferring some money over into capital before the end of the year, it'll show that we ended the year with a $410,000 surplus. But had we not given bonuses, had we not transferred money over into capital, we would actually finish that year with a $1.2 million surplus. So taking that same scenario for 2015 would have been a $1.6 million surplus, 2016 $1.4 million, and 17 $1.2 million. So I think we can be very proud of that fact. I think a lot of cities have pushed. I think a lot of cities have run way too close to the edge, and they find themselves now in some difficult financial situations. But we've been blessed not only with having a great economy in Homewood. I've been blessed as a mayor of having you on the council that understands budgets and understands living within our means. So that's what I'm going to ask you to do again. Not that I have to ask you. You've proven that that's just the way we do it. I do want to say publicly, though, I appreciate the amount of work it takes to do that, because it is easy to just say yes to a lot of things that add up to a lot of money at the end of the year. Cash balance on hand as of June 2018, we'll see our general fund checking, $7 million, general public funds investments, $9 million. There's the old reserve for economic uncertainty. Rainy day fund. Thank you, Mr. Jones. Just north of $11 million. That number helps me sleep at night, and I think it does you too. And then just right on down the line, the largest other line items, our debt service fund, $9.8 million. I'll give you just a second to go over those. 911, sales tax funds, courts, judicial. Again, a little over $153 million. Mike, make sure you get a good picture of me. That I don't have my mouth open when you're when you post this on West Homewood. It always looks like I slid in from third base. Some kind of crazy thing, like this. Right. Thank you. Here's just some kind of highlights and actually what most people are interested in. Our payrolls budgeted this year. I'm proposing a 2% COLA for our employees. I'm proposing that we continue with the commitments that we have on our merits. There's new required pension rates amounting to increased costs of approximately $373,000. That's a 6% increase in our insurance, and I'm proposing that the city take up half of that, 3%, and pass the other 3% along to the employees. My budget again does not have, and it never does, but assuming, expecting, and knowing we will finish the year with a surplus at the end of next year, as I'm getting ready to do at the end of this year, ask for your consideration to give the employees another bonus to share in our profits. So although you will not see that request in this year's budget, I do want to make sure you know at the end of next year, with a surplus, I would come back again and ask for that to happen. And then due to the city reaching our goal on our employee wellness screens, the city received the best rating, which is preferred. And that saves us a lot of money too on our insurance. So total budgeted revenues, $52.7 million. Total expenditures, $52.7 million. And for the second year in a row, we are balancing our budget without the use or the need to utilize a carryover fund balance as a revenue source. So again, I think that speaks very highly for us, even though in the past we've always used a carryover fund balance to balance the budget. We have never one time used it, but it surely is nice now to be in a position where we can basically do this without having to use a fund balance. There's our total budgeted revenues, $6.4 million. Total expenditures, $8.2 million. And then if you'll just notice down here, Robert has put a note that says our revenue source, our carryover fund balance, will not have to be utilized in this amount if the council decides to delay some funding on projects that can be carried over until next fiscal year. Also, all capital purchases, including our vehicles, which is a little change, are budgeted to be paid for in cash during our 17-18 and not financed. Our capital project highlights, upcoming continued funding for our I-65 Diamond Interchange design. We're still on track for that. We still have funds in to continue our street paving from money approved to be transferred to Capital Projects Fund from Debt Service Fund in the amount of $1 million there. Continued funding of the Greenway 2 construction, engineering for our 18th Street beautification project, and then as requested by council, funding for the Highway 280 pedestrian bridge. Here's our budget summary. All our accounts. Again, I won't bore you going through all of those. If any of you have specific questions. Robert has nicely placed a note at the bottom. Budget summary excludes Fund 06, which is the Board of Education Fund. Be a separate slide for that. Board of Education funding. So during the 18-19 budget, the Board of Education received revenues from the city of Homewood as follows. Our sales tax collections for the city, $8.4 million, and then our $14.2 million for property, personal property taxes, $8.4, bringing a total to our Board of Education funding to almost $17 million, $16.8 million. So concludes the budget. Again, I appreciate and I'll thank you in advance for the work that y'all will do going through the numbers that we've provided. Hopefully it'll be a quick process, Chairman Jones. Per our capital plan fiscal policy, I didn't include it in this, but in the binders that we'll give out after the council meeting, we'll have our capital plan on a PowerPoint format for you that'll be in your binders. So, and then Robert's got a good little note here at the end that he let me approve basically. But coming together is a beginning, keeping together is a progress, and working together is success. And I look forward to working with y'all as we kind of go through this process, and hopefully it just gets easier and easier and easier. So, Mr. President, Council, thank y'all very much.
Thank you, Mayor. We appreciate it.